by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
It's now time for One Man's Opinion on Sports with Bryan Pasquale. The phone lines are open at 724-843-1888 and 724-774-1888. You can also watch live on the WBVP-WMBA Facebook page. Here is your host, Bryan Pasquale.
Welcome, everybody, to One Man's Opinion on Sports with me, Bryan Pasquale. I do have a question for Ryan Garazunas before we even begin. Who's in the White House?
Who's in the White House?
Who's in the White House? Trump. Trump. Who's in the White House?
Question?
Trump. Come on, sing it. Who's in the White House? Trump.
I'm already politicized out, if that's the word. I don't even know if that's the word. Politically out of this. I'm done. I can't wait to just let this all get behind. And we have 4 years till we even have to think of this kind of stuff anymore.
It'll be less than 4 years. It'll be like 3, and they'll start hounding us. Remember when Kamala went to the Robinson Permane, and they kicked all the Trump people out, and then they had busloads of fake customers that were her fans?
I remember something like that happened,
yeah. No wonder she didn't win. What a loser. What a loser. Thank God the losers are out of the White House. Everyone, welcome back to One Man's Opinion on Sports with me, Bryan Pasquale. I'm here at the St. Barnabas Studios. Joining me today, as always, is the greatest producer this side of the Mississippi, Ryan Garazunas. You can check him out alongside co-host Mike Mueller every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. till noon on YouTube. Search the Two Dumb Yinzers. They talk Steelers, Pirates, Penguins, and much, much more. What happened? Your furnace went out?
Oh, what a nightmare. About midnight on Sunday night, I thought, man, it's colder than usual, but it's supposed to be colder than usual outside. So I thought, all right, about another hour later, it's getting even colder. And I went and I looked. I was able to mess with it once. It popped on, and then after that, it went off, and I never came back on. And it was a cold night. We got it taken care of in the morning, but man, what a long night.
Did you guys just cuddle, or what happened? Was there body heat that kept you warm?
No.
Do you guys live there? What do you mean it was a long night?
Without the cold, yeah. It was. I lived there, and.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know where the studio was. I didn't know if it was a separate, place. I didn't know what was. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the logistics.
And it ended up being something so simple. But, fixing a furnace is like fixing a car. You have to know what you're doing.
What did you do? Did you just sand the little sensor?
Well, yeah, it was the pressure sensor, pressure button, pressure switch. I think that's what it might have been called. And it cost a couple $100 to fix. But you know what? It's done. It's over.
$9 part. All right, couple $100. There you go. All right. Well, I didn't know if there was cuddling involved. I didn't know if Derpy got flown in a helicopter to provide warmth or what. But
that furnace, what is that thing anyway? When are they going to update the furnace in this world? Doesn't it? It looks like the furnace has always looked the same in my life. It's been this square sheet metal box that sits in the corner of your basement. It doesn't even look like anything. When are they going to update this thing? It just seems like it's very dated to me.
I don't think they'll. Well, maybe Musk will update it here in the next 4 years, but I don't think they've updated anything. Look at the space shuttle.
Yeah.
NASA didn't update that, and then they just had to retire it because they're like, we don't have anything else. We're going to take all your tax dollars and do nothing.
Yeah. So that's how that went. But all is good. The warmth is back in the house and in the home, and all is well.
Speaking of updated, Ryan, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they need to do some sort of updates. Otherwise, they're going to get retired like the space shuttle. What was the last space shuttle that was retired? The Challenger blew up. It was I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know the names of the space shuttles. They had Destiny and Shaniqua, and I don't know. It was stripper names or something for the.
Yeah, I don't know. The Steelers, they have to do something, man. And you're watching all these games and you're seeing what it is that they have and we don't have. Why they're still playing, why we're not playing. And, you're starting to see all the pieces fall into place. Okay, these teams, they have 2 wide receivers where we had one most of the season. Their number one receivers are making amazing plays. Our number one receivers fighting with fans and dropping passes. The list goes on and on. It really does, Brian. When you sit down at the end of the day, this Steelers team had some problems. And I don't think it made anybody realistically believe that we had a shot to win the Super Bowl. I mean, come on.
Super Bowl?
Super
We don't
Bowl?
worry about winning a playoff game. The space shuttle was Columbia, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour.
It was all those?
But also the Challenger. The Challenger is the one that blew up. But we also know that all of the people that supposedly died there are now living, or their doppelgangers are now living, or their twin brothers and sisters are.
I've seen that on the internet. It's an interesting.
Yeah, they're all alive and well. It's something weird. I mean, I saw it on Channel 1 down in South Park Middle School or whatever that was.
I saw it too. Absolutely.
You were probably in grade school or middle school. I don't know exactly.
Second grade.
Yeah, so I think second.
You know what? It was so crazy because they
I saw it Nativity.
They brought in all the kids to watch it, and then it blew up. And all the kids,
it wasn't even like it was like a 20-second thing, and then it blew up.
I mean, there was kids that were crying. I thought, oh yeah.
They probably missed their mom.
Yeah.
So after they wiped the tears off your eyes, what happened?
I ate paste and went home, all right?
All right, here's the deal. We have 10 minutes before we have to go to our first break. Let's just run down through this. Who the heck are the Steelers going to have a quarterback next year? Is it going to be Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, or another?
I think as of right now, if I had to guess, I'd say Justin Fields is going to be our starting quarterback on day one.
Don't you think he's ticked off though? We didn't take on his 5th-year option for $25 million. So and then he was 4-2, and we took him out as the starter. Don't you think he might be like disgruntled?
I think so. However, if you look farther back, you zoom out a little bit, you do recall them saying that they were going to bring Russell.
Wait, are we going to zoom out like the webcam that is on me now?
Yeah,
where I look like I'm like a half mile away.
Yes, exactly. If you zoom out and look at it, wait, what was the question?
The Challenger. What was what?
Not the Challenger.
I don't know.
Steelers.
What was the teacher's name that went up? She was the first teacher.
I don't recall, but I can picture her face.
I should call her and have her interviewed here because she's still alive apparently.
That would be an amazing interview.
Or I mean, it's her twin sister doppelganger.
Oh, but Justin Fields,
yes.
I do think at this point, that, listen, if you zoom out, as I was saying, you could go back to prior to the season last year, and I think the agenda was to have Russell Wilson start, have Justin Fields behind him. And you know what? It didn't happen to play out that way because Russell dealt with that early injury, but it got back to the way it was supposed to be. It gave Fields an opportunity to go in and play 6 games, go 4-2, have a decent outing. But I think that this is probably going to be the route this year, unless they bring in somebody. But at this point, I don't know if there's anybody that's worth bringing in the free agency. There, these names. No,
Justin Fields is the second best free agent out there. I mean, behind Sam Darnold, right?
You know what they're talking? Of course, Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers is a name that obviously I don't believe will come here. But I think that it's going to be Justin Fields.
Remember when Russell Wilson bought that house for $5 million down in Pittsburgh, and he also had a house up here in Beaver?
Yeah.
What do you, dude? Rent a place for a year.
Yeah.
Spend $1 million and rent a place, a really nice place. All right, moving on. Running back, Najee Harris, I would assume is going to be gone. Jalen Warren, they need to sign. What are your thoughts on the running back situation?
I love the running back that we have. People that they say he runs like he's in tar. Excuse me, Najee Harris. I'm talking about. I thought you were talking about LeBron James playing defense or Caitlin Clark playing defense. Or there's no other running back in the league that ran for 1,000 yards the last 4 years. People say, well, you can't really go by the 1,000-yard mark because you play 17 games, but it still says something. If you were the only running back that has 1,000, going up doesn't matter. You're the only one that's been to that mark. For 2, I think people were upset that they wanted a little bit more out of a running back that came out of a school like Alabama. What exactly do you want anymore? I mean, the premier backs in the league are, of course, people like Derrick Henry and Barkley. If you could find a guy like that out there, more power to you. But at the end of the day, I don't think that Najee Harris was particularly the problem. We had offensive line issues. We had offensive coordinator issues. We've had quarterback issues. So, I mean, obviously that messes a lot of things up. I'm not a big fan of them sending Najee down the road. They are going to send Najee down the road. They're not going to want to pay him. I just hope that we get somebody that could complement Jalen Warren the way that Jalen Warren complemented Najee. And on top, with that being said, I also think whoever does get Najee Harris is going to be a pretty happy team.
So you're saying over the last 4 years, no other running back has had a 1,000-yard season for 4 straight years?
Correct.
Do you know that that's only 59 yards a game?
Yes.
Isn't that sad?
It
that
is
four
sad.
people haven't, everybody should get that.
Right.
Unless, obviously, if you're hurt for 5 games or something.
But what's that tell me about this running back? He's consistent. The guy, whether it be 59 yards a game or whatever, he still was able to manage to get that when no other running back in the league did.
Hey, I'm not arguing. I'm just saying, 59 yards a game. Nobody in the league other than one guy can average 59 yards a game for 4 seasons. That's odd.
That is odd.
Okay. Dan Moore Jr. played a lot too, but all right, we'll get to him in a second. Wide receivers, Van Jefferson, Mike Williams, Calvin Austin the 17th. Are any of them going to be back?
I think so. I think Calvin Austin's going to be back.
Yeah.
I think that Van Jefferson, one way or another, I'm not really concerned. And then who was the other? Mike Williams. What a crime that happened with him. I mean, from day one, we needed a number 2 quarterback. We played the games with San Francisco to try to get Brandon Ayuk. When we couldn't get Ayuk, we tried to get Devontae Adams. That didn't work. He goes to New York to play with the Jets. We looked at a couple other guys. It just didn't play out. So at the 9th game of the season, which is the exact halfway point between the 2 sets of 8, halfway through the season, it was the Washington Commanders. He came over. He got a game-winning touchdown. Now, the guy beyond that had 13 targets all the entire rest of the half a season, 9 catches on 13 targets, 17 yards per game or per catch average. For some reason, they never, ever, whether Russ couldn't see over the line, whether he just didn't have time for the routes to open, whatever it was, they did not pass the ball to their number 2 receiver. I don't know what's going on.
He wasn't even on the field for the first 5 weeks.
They treated him like he was a rookie, and I just don't understand why they didn't use him again. Very productive in the 13 targets in 9 games. That's kind of unbelievable for your number 2 receiver. But that's kind of what we were dealing with, and why our team wasn't quite up to what we wanted it to be.
Now, Roman Wilson, you talked about rookies. What did he play? 4 snaps all season?
Did he even play that? I don't know.
I heard. I've heard that he played 4 snaps.
Okay.
Never saw it. And I watched the games at least 3 times. I've never seen him on the field, but I heard he was. What's the deal there? Is he going to be healthy next year, or what? Or is he just this person we drafted for no reason?
I think that it's going to be Roman's time, of course, as he's going to be coming back, I guess you could call it. I think if he continues to stay healthy beyond that, he is going to play a big part in our wide receiver room. Of course, you're going to have George, Roman Wilson, as we mentioned, Calvin Austin, and maybe some of these other guys, your 4s, 5s, and 6s, guys like Skoranek and guys like this. But again, they
need to sign Skoranek. He's a free agent as well.
Again, I think that it really comes down to what you're going to get at your number 2 spot. You have to get a productive receiver who comes in and can make plays and can be productive week in, week out, which we just didn't have at that number 2 spot. Which again, I don't know how we thought we could have just made it through a season. Maybe we came out a little bit better than we should have at the end.
Well, here's my question, because I didn't mention George Pickens, and it sounds to me like you're just assuming he's going to be on the team.
Yeah.
Is he going to be on the team?
Yeah.
Is he going to be on the team with a 4 or 5 year extension?
I don't know if he's going to have his extension, but I think he will be back on the team this year. I do think that he's going to get things settled. Coach Tomlin's going to smooth things over. He tends to have that way with the players on the team, and I think he's going to be able to do that at first anyway. As the season gets old, as the season maybe gets frustrating, you might see George, the ugly George, pop out. But I think that Mike Tomlin and him will get things worked out, and his agent, and I think he will be back, yes.
All right, well, then we have the Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington. Obviously, they'll both be back. That's a done deal. Moving on to the offensive line. Let's start with some of the old heads. Let's see here. James Daniels got hurt early in the season. Will he be back?
James Daniels, quite possibly. The thing about this, it also depends on what we do in the offseason with the offensive line. We have a very young offensive line. Fatanu, of course, our pick last year, he didn't even play. A couple plays, he got hurt. And then a guy like Broderick Jones, who's 2 years into the league, who he's still struggling. So, there's a lot that still has to be figured out with this offensive line. As far as bringing back a couple of these veterans, I think that maybe one may stay, one may go. I just don't know who it's going to be. But we do have a lot of issues that need to be fixed. Of course, the 2 rookies that had to get thrown to the Wolves, who came out and had a pretty good seasons, Frazier and McCormick, I'm talking. So I think that there's still a lot to be determined what goes on with this offensive line. It's such a big part. So I think they have to look at it closely and figure out what they want to do, because you can't keep having that backfield collapse every time a quarterback drops back. You just can't. You can't.
Yeah, I don't know. They have Zach Frazier, Broderick Jones, Mason McCormick, and Troy Fatano, all, relatively super young. And then you have James Daniels at right tackle. You have Isaac Seumalo, who I don't think played very well this season. And you had Dan Moore Jr., who seemed to have had a great first half versus all the bad teams. And then let me ask you a question. What offensive lineman in the entire NFL gave up the most amount of sacks this year?
I think it was, wasn't it Dan Moore?
Dan Moore Jr.
Yeah.
Do you know who was second?
Yeah, it was Broderick Jones.
So combined, Broderick Jones and Dan Moore Jr. gave up the most sacks. Do you recall me before the season, whenever I talked to Dan and we were talking about having Russell Wilson as the quarterback, and I said that the Steelers were going to give up the most amount of sacks out of any team in the NFL? Basically, Dan Moore Jr. and Broderick Jones did not let me down. I don't see how you bring back Dan Moore Jr. for a lot of money. These other guys, Seumalo, Frazier, Daniels, Jones, McCormick, Fatano, they're all going to be cheap. I think you have to keep them coming back, keep getting better and stronger there. We do have to go to a break here. I do know that. We have Ryan taking a couple phone calls. We are going to go to break, though. And when we come back, we're going to be taking some calls. Make sure to like us on Beaver County Radio, Facebook Live, and Beaver County Radio YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to that. We are going to go to break. You guys have been listening to WBVP 99.3 FM and 1230 AM. We'll be right back to One Man's Opinion on Sports.
Tune in to Driving in the Fast Lane with Frank Sparks on 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP. Monday through Friday from 6:30 to 9 a.m. Frank will talk about what's happening in the news, locally, regionally, and nationally. There's also music to get you started for the day. The show is brought to you by Patriot Home Care. So set your radio dial to 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP. We're streamed live on BeaverCountyRadio.com, so you can listen every morning on Beaver County Radio.
Zucchi's Sports Tavern on Constitution Boulevard has the best wings and homemade sauces in Beaver County. Zucchi's Sports Tavern is the perfect place to grab a bite to eat or a cold beverage before high school basketball games. Zucchi's Sports Tavern has a heated and enclosed outside bar, equipped with several big screen TVs, and is the ideal place to watch all of your favorite sports. Don't forget to become a VIP for discounts and special offers at Zucchies.com. That's Zucchi's Sports Tavern on Constitution Boulevard.
Make your dream of a college degree a reality at Community College of Beaver County. CCBC offers 10 pathways to success, including health sciences, criminal justice, industrial technology, business, and more. Start at CCBC and finish your career or get transfer ready, all at a realistic cost. Enroll today, ccbc.edu.
Listening to live sports on the radio in Beaver County is a tradition. This is Craig Fontana from Moon Township Ford, and I ought to know. My dad, Bill Fontana, has called games for over 50 years. Beaver County people know a good call when they hear one, and the best call you can make is to buy your next new or used vehicle at Moon Township Ford. Click moontownshipford.net or visit Moon Township Ford on University Boulevard.
Balcones Moon Township Ford, where friends send friends.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Now back to One Man's Opinion with Bryan Pasquale.
Who's in the White House, Ryan? Who's in the White House? Trump. Who's in the White House? Trump. It's funny because here's the thing. This is a sports show, and we talk about politics like very lightly here because we just don't have enough time. But it's nice to have a president, and whether you like his politics or not, I mean, usually most people hate him or whatever because he's orange or whatever. But he was talking to the public, like versus a guy that hid in his basement and came out and just read a script and then hid from questions. It's nice to actually have somebody talking and saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, whether you agree with it or not.
I think that's what people ultimately wanted all along. They wanted a transparent president, somebody that talks and talks to the people of this country, and we understand what you're saying. And you're right. The other guy, you didn't see him for 4 years. It was so bizarre. What a bizarre time in history, man.
Yeah, reminds me of a song. All right. Anyway, on the line we do have Dawn. Dawn, welcome to WBVP. You're on the air.
How are you today?
I am wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And you?
I'm doing fine. You know what, though? Who's that quarterback? Josh Allen. He played at Wyoming. He's the Buffalo Bills quarterback, right?
Yeah. You know what? He looks like what's the guy from The Replacements, Ryan?
Oh, boy. You're going, wow, that was a great band. Holy cow.
No. The movie.
I'm not sure.
Oh, the guy that was in The Matrix.
Yes.
Oh,
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves from The Replacements. He looks like a spitting image of Josh Allen today.
Huh.
I'll be darned. You know what? Whenever you picture Josh Allen, I want you to picture him standing up like the defenders of the Alamo with a cape fluttering behind him, because if he doesn't stop Taylor Swift and the forces of evil, it'll be up to either Jaden Daniels or the other quarterback, whoever that guy is, and picture them with a cape fluttering behind them. The rich and powerful, the intelligentsia, the power brokers that have had their foot on my neck since the moment of conception, I think they want the Chiefs to win the third in a row, don't they?
I think you're right, and I think Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills have the chance to blow out the Kansas City Chiefs, and if they don't beat the Chiefs by multiple scores, I think you're correct that the referees can manipulate the game enough to edge out the Chiefs.
Now, hold on a second now. I've been assured by a lady on Sports Talk Radio that the Chiefs have never gotten any preferential treatment. I have been assured that the 2020 election was clean as a whistle, and I have been assured that the so-called vaccine was perfectly safe. So, obviously, you're peddling in misinformation. I might have to notify the women on The View. What do you think about that?
Let me ask you this. Obviously, you're listening to the AM broadcast of this with your tinfoil hat, and I couldn't be happier. You are spot on about everything. When Fauci has to get pardoned back to 2014, you could trust the science.
Absolutely, and it looks like they pardoned every guilty person in the world, didn't they?
Well, if they did, they'd have to pardon everybody in Congress, but yes.
Oh, why do they have to be so old like Bernie Sanders? Do you think he could suit up and play in Super Bowl 59?
If he was dating Taylor Swift, I'd say yes.
Oh, my goodness. You know Taylor Swift. This is a 35-year-old billionaire, correct?
I never knew how old she was. All I know is I find her mildly attractive. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, okay? Now, Dawn, if I had to date a girl, they'd have to be an 8 above. That's just looks. Then they have to have the personality, and they have to have some mental illness to date me back. There's a lot of variables there. But Taylor Swift on a scale of 1 to 10, dateable for just human me is an 8 and above, and I find her like a 5.5.
But sometimes she looks quite unremarkable, and sometimes she looks pretty good, huh?
You're not wrong.
You'd have to meet her in real life to know how good looking she is.
True. Dawn, how tall are you, real quick?
I'm 5'11".
See, I'm 6 foot. Ryan, what are you, about 5'11"?
Yeah,
6
about
foot?
5 foot.
Yeah,
5'11".
5 foot. I think she's 6 foot tall herself.
Wow.
She is a tall young lady.
Yeah.
Do you remember a Taylor Dane from the 1990s?
That sounds familiar.
It does sound familiar. I got to Google that.
Yeah, who was that?
Okay, Tell It to My Heart, I think, was one of her hits.
Okay.
I have no acrimony towards Taylor Swift. We're all just having fun here.
Right.
This is how the media is herding you into buying $500 tickets to a concert. It's a herd mentality, and we have to break that up if it will be a free people. I don't mean any disrespect to Taylor Swift. Taylor Dane was prettier. She sang better. She danced better.
Her hair was bigger. I just Googled her.
Her hair was so beautiful for that time. For that big hair those women had.
Yes.
The media really is hurting us. My one friend calls it the beehive mentality, And it looks like it's infected sports also, right?
Oh, you're not kidding. I mean, whether it's the mafia or just, the conglomerates in big media, I mean, there's no way the Chiefs lose, right?
No. The people that, okay, it's all about the money. I think it was the Roberto Duran, Marvin Hagler fight. Roberto Duran said it was a close fight, and he said his big body wore me out late in the fight. He said, but if you look at the 12th round especially, I had taken control of the fight. He did not even sound bitter in the interview. He said there were 3 up-and-coming fighters, and the powers to be determined that Marvin Hagler would be a bigger payday than Roberto Duran. But like he said, or it was implied, if he would have beat the crap out of him, they'd have given him the decision. Obviously, isn't it all about the money at this point in time?
I couldn't agree more.
Realistically, now, Dawn, I want to ask you a question, and Brian as well. I mean, we've all watched football for a long time. We're familiar with the sport. Now, listen, these Kansas City Chiefs, of course, they lose, 2 games during the regular season. Till this day, you're going into the AFC Championship game. They still have not scored over 30 points this season. Now, Josh Allen, on the other hand, these guys put up 30 to 40 points on their regular. They go out against Detroit, against a team that at that time was considered the strongest team in the NFC. They put up 48 points against that Detroit defense. This is what this Josh Allen and this Buffalo Bills team do. They score a lot of points. Now, if again, let's refer to another show that we have here. Let's think logically. If you take one team that hasn't scored over 30 points all year, and then you take another team that scores 30 to 40 points every game, in theory, come on. And here's another thing. It isn't like Buffalo's a bad team, but they're just putting up a lot of points in their losses, whatever. This is a really good team. I tell you what, if KC wins this game, goes back to the Super Bowl, and wins for that matter, I don't think there's just any question. I think that people should really be upset because, again, if you like football, if you're a lifelong fan of football, you love to watch the guys compete, you love to watch it play out, I think this should really tick people off if that ends up being the case because, guys, realistically, in my mind, this Buffalo Bills team, listen, if they don't score 40 points, they should at least beat this Kansas City team who has not scored over 30 points not once this year. I say you got to go with the Bills, and if Kansas City wins, I really get suspicious of the whole situation.
Don, did you notice he preferenced that as a question towards you, and I still didn't understand the question?
I'll tell you what, though, one of my favorite fighters is a young man, Boom Boom Mancini, because I think he was from Youngstown. And I was in Dayton, Ohio, when I picked up a Sunday newspaper and read that Dooku Kim had died in a fight with Boom Boom Mancini. People tell me he's a really nice guy, and he was never quite the same after that because he is a good guy. But that's on the referee. The referee, it was a title fight, I understand, but that fight should have been stopped. But when Boom Boom Mancini, who was a great fighter and always in shape, whoever dethroned him, they said this and that, and he said, listen, this guy has trouble with everyone he fights. Well, I don't know about that, but I know what he means. Boom Boom didn't put them away that quickly. Kansas City is the same kind of an operation. They win ugly, and I think Buffalo gets up 2 scores. I think it's over.
I would think so, too.
Yeah, I think I sent a message to Ryan. I said, the Kansas City Chiefs are exactly who Mike Tomlin wants the Steelers to be. And I don't mean just like, winning the Super Bowls. I mean, you don't turn the ball over. You get a big drive when you need it. Your defense plays great all game, but especially in the fourth quarter when you need a stop or a turnover, you get it. And that's the way the Chiefs have been winning. If the Chiefs can hold the Bills to under 30, I think they have a chance, but I could also see Buffalo winning by 17.
I'd love to see the Bills deserve a Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
They do. Hey, you guys take care.
Hey,
all
thanks,
right, Don.
Don.
Great call.
Thank you.
All right, Don should just be a regular on the show. He does such a great job.
Just give Don a seat right over here.
Hold on, we gotta put him over here because the microphone only works, or I'm sorry, the headphones only work over there.
At a point I made earlier this week, Brian, also just real quick before we go to break, we're talking, and I'm sure you're going to get into this more as the show goes on, but Minka Fitzpatrick. Now this is a guy.
Never heard of him.
2 years now. 2 years. I think he had 1 interception this year, and I don't know if he had any last year. I'm not recalling, but he's certainly been a player that has not lived up to the money that he's been making. Did you see the performance that DeMar Hamlin had the other night up in Buffalo? Now, here's a good example of one guy makes top dollar at his position and another guy making bare minimum. I don't even think DeMar's out of his rookie contract, is he? But he had an amazing game. He led his defense in tackles. I think he had 8 tackles. He had a forced fumble, 2 tackles for losses. I don't have the exact statistics in front of my face, but maybe this is what we need to do, Brian. We're paying these 3 on the defensive side of the ball that they're kind of just, to me, in a way, living off of their reputation. Yes, Cam Hayward had an improved season this year. I agree. I think TJ was somewhere right around where you wanted him to be. And Minka, I don't think he did anything near where you wanted him to be. But look at what somebody like DeMar, who's younger, he has the fight, he has the heart, he's still trying to make it in the league. Maybe these are the guys that we need to be employing on the defensive side of the ball so we could free up some money to put into skill players. Again, we didn't have a number 2 wide receiver all season. And again, we're still looking for a franchise quarterback. So you free up the money from that safety spot and get a guy like DeMar, who's a fighter, a young kid who wants to prove himself.
A fighter. He died on the field and he's alive and he's out there making plays. He's more than a fighter.
Exactly. So you get one of these guys that have that kind of heart, that mentality, and you don't have to spend out a majority of this money to a guy like him. Again, he had 1 interception this year, 1 in the past 2 years. He certainly hasn't had the splash plays he had in his first couple seasons. It might be time to move on. And again, I know it's hard in Pittsburgh. We love the name on the back of the jersey. It's hard to let guys go, but maybe it might be Minka's time.
Well, I definitely want to get into the defense whenever we come back. It's funny because Dan sent me a message. When Hamlin made the fumble tackle, I was like, DeMar Hamlin, blah, 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 blah. And Dan says, real quick, without looking it up, what college did he go to? I'm like, Pitt? Was that supposed to be a trick question?
Right,
Come on, Dan. I think I'm a little better than that. All right, anyway, let's get into the Steelers defense, what they need to do in the offseason, and then I think we'll get into maybe the NFL playoffs after that. You guys have been listening to WBVP 99.3 FM and 1230 AM. We'll be right back to One Man's Opinion on Sports.
Zucchi Sports Tavern on Constitution Boulevard has the best wings and homemade sauces in Beaver County. Zucchi Sports Tavern is the perfect place to grab a bite to eat or a cold beverage before high school basketball games. Zucchi Sports Tavern has a heated and enclosed outside bar, equipped with several big screen TVs, and is the ideal place to watch all of your favorite sports. Don't forget to become a VIP for discounts and special offers at Zucchies.com. That's Zucchi Sports Tavern on Constitution Boulevard.
Listening to live sports on the radio in Beaver County is a tradition. This is Craig Fontana from Moon Township Ford, and I ought to know. My dad, Bill Fontana, has called games for over 50 years. Beaver County people know a good call when they hear one, and the best call you can make is to buy your next new or used vehicle at Moon Township Ford. Click moontownshipford.net or visit Moon Township Ford on University Boulevard.
Falcone's Moon Township Ford, where friends send friends.
Make your dream of a college degree a reality at Community College of Beaver County. CCBC offers 10 pathways to success, including health sciences, criminal justice, industrial technology, business, and more. Start at CCBC and finish your career or get transfer ready, all at a realistic cost. Enroll today, ccbc.edu.
If you're one of those people who never seems to have enough time to get things done, Friendly Federal Credit Union is here to help. Our Baden branch is now open 5 days a week, giving you more time and flexibility to get things done. Visit Friendly Federal Credit Union on State Street in Baden, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4, Fridays, 9 to 5. I like to think that it's more friendly than before. Come see for yourself. Member NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Now, back to One Man's Opinion with Bryan Pasquale.
Welcome back to One Man's Opinion on Sports with me, Bryan Pasquale. I'm here at the St. Barnabas Studios. Joining me today is my producer, Ryan Garazunas. Make sure you go over to YouTube and check out my YouTube page, One Man's Opinion on Sports. I do have a video coming out. The editing is almost done. It is going to be awesome. It's going to be 13-minute, fantastic, 13 minute and 1 second, actually. Fantastic video on the top 10 historic Super Bowls of all time. I've been working on it. It is really good. I'll give you a hint that there is one Steelers game in there, one Pittsburgh Steelers game out of the 10 that is in the top 10 historic Super Bowls of all time. One Man's Opinion on Sports over on YouTube. Check that out. I just checked this out here before we get into the Steelers defense. They were, Juan Soto got like $750 billion.
Yeah.
They showed his stats next to Brian Giles from like the 90s and early 2000s, and Giles was actually better.
That's insane. Like in everything.
Let me ask you a question. Who does more juice? Out of Soto and Giles. Who did more steroids?
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a tie. All right, speaking of steroids, let's talk football.
Hey, can I pick up one thing off of where I left off with this Damar Hamlin and Minkah Fitzpatrick? Did you know that this season, statistic-wise, Minkah had 96 tackles and 1 interception? 96.
Hold on. Okay. Let's clarify the tackles real quick because, I've been studying TJ Watt. I'm going to do this.
Okay, let's just blow through this point because the point is it's actually that's not really relevant to the point.
But the tackles are relevant to my point. The tackles that they list are not tackles. They are combined tackles, like total tackles. That means like when Cam Hayward falls on somebody 7 yards down the field after somebody else is actually making the tackle, it's considered a tackle. Solo tackles should be the only ones that count, but continue on.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the numbers that are written on the paper. If you would look it up, this is the numbers that you're going to get. You can do whatever you want with that.
On the screen.
So Minkah Fitzpatrick got 96 tackles this year with 1 interception. 96 with 1 interception. Damar Hamlin, 89 tackles, 2 interceptions. So do what you want with that.
One's probably making $20 million. The other one's probably making the league minimum.
Exactly. One is making top money at that position. I don't know if it's the very top, but one of the top dollar prices at the safety position. And Damar Hamlin is making league minimum, I still believe, at this point. But again, 96 tackles, 1 interception, 89 tackles, 2 interceptions. I think we could free some money up at safety.
All right. Well, since Ryan ruined my whole segment, what we're going to do is I was going to go from the defensive line and move back.
Okay.
Let's go from the defensive backs and move towards the line then, because I want to talk about Minkah Fitzpatrick, Deshaun Elliott, Dante Jackson, Joey Porter Jr., Corey Trice Jr., Beanie Bishop, Cameron Sutton, and DeMonte KZ.
A lot of interesting names, man.
Who's staying, who's going, who's overpaid, who's underpaid, who needs promoted, who needs shipped out?
Deshaun Elliott, I believe he is a Steeler. This guy needs to stay.
Absolutely. He was the best player, I think, on that defense all year.
Deshaun Elliott at the strong is a great guy to keep around. I say we keep him. Joey Porter, of course, he's going to be your corner. Minkah, you know where I stand with him. And the other starter is Dante Jackson. Listen, I thought Dante Jackson was solid. Listen, you don't have one of the best 5 corners in the league. Bottom line is the guy played pretty well. There was times that he didn't play well, but again, the guy that's lining up across from you in the NFL is very good. You're not going to win every battle. I like Dante Jackson for where we are. If we do maybe go another season and he has trouble, maybe go look for your other starting corner somewhere else. But at this point, I don't see any reason to get rid of Dante.
Well, Dante Jackson, I mean, he was a 1-year rental, so do you sign him for like a 3-year deal or you don't? But he was banged up. A lot of games he was like out for a series. Yeah. He sat out the second, half.
The thing I liked about him,
just
Brian,
the way he played. I don't know.
The thing I liked about him, you didn't hear his name much, and that's a good thing if you're a corner. So I like that. Some of these other names, Corey Trice, I still think you have to give him some more time. He didn't play at all in his rookie season. He came in this season and did 1 or 2 things very well early. I think he had an interception early, but then he kind of fell apart in coverage. And you know what? I don't know anybody that wasn't expecting that.
He's like 6'4" and like can run like a deer. So
exactly.
I'd say you give him all the time he needs.
Cam Sutton, he was one that I wanted back when he went to Detroit. I thought he was playing well here. Goes to Detroit played.
What did he do in Detroit?
He got in a little bit of trouble, and then we took him back.
Was he hanging out in the locker room when the cops were looking for him?
I got to tell you, I thought he was going to be a nice. Just a player to have as well in the secondary. The guy's been here before. He's done that. He's a veteran now, and it didn't seem like it was working out with Cam Sutton.
Yeah.
He may or may not.
Him off.
We're going to X him out.
Okay.
Who are a couple?
Beanie Bishop.
Beanie Bishop.
Come on.
Undrafted
free agent.
What can you say about this guy?
Or undrafted rookie.
He's a rookie. The guy went out and he had a couple interceptions. I can't think of the amount right now, but he was productive for what he was. He was a nickel back. He did the things we needed him to do, and I think he went above and beyond.
He won a couple games for us with some big late interceptions.
I'm excited to see what he could do moving forward.
So Corey Trice, Beanie Bishop need to develop. Obviously, yes. Joey Porter Jr. needs to play maybe in summer camp, maybe with his arms tied behind his backs, and learn how to just run and not use his hands so much? Is that what he needs to do?
My concern with Joey Porter Jr. is this. I mean, have we really been able to develop corners? Not for a very long time in Pittsburgh. I
Rod
mean,
Woodson.
But again, I'm going back to that very long time is where I was really stressing on that. The other people you got to think of over the years are Bryant McFadden. He did pretty well.
He was a nice player.
He was on a Super Bowl winning team there.
Number 20.
So do we develop corners well? I don't think we do. So this is going to come down to Joey. I think Joey's going to really have to become that player himself.
If Joey can just go one-on-one with the other team's best wide receiver, that goes, now you're 10 on 10.
Yeah.
And you should be able to win that. What about KZ? Does he stick around as a backup safety?
I think KZ goes. I think we bring somebody else in, only because, you know what, he had bright spots, but again, he dealt with injuries, and there was a couple incidences in later games that I think we could do without, and I think they're going to look at that, and he's probably not going to be back.
All right, moving to linebacker, we do have in the middle, Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, the rookie, Landon Roberts, the run stuffer. What do you think about all three of those guys?
I think you have to bring your linebacking core back. I think everybody in the linebacking room has to come back, be inside, be outside. Every guy that you just named, then you talk outside, you're talking Nick Herbig, you're talking Highsmith, Watt, and even Preston Smith. I was satisfied. And who do you go after? Listen, the only one that I would really say I expected more out of was Patrick Queen.
T.J. Watt.
Well, I mean, the thing about TJ, we could get back to him, but, Patrick Queen is a guy that you wasn't really sure. He was solid. He was coming from Baltimore, always a good defense. I was wanting
sideline to sideline. I have no problem with him.
I wanted a little bit more from him, though. I wanted some splash plays from him where you didn't get him. Again, he was solid. He covered people well, but at the end of the day, I wanted to see a little bit more of Patrick Queen.
All right, maybe they should blitz him more up the middle. I mean, if Watt and Highsmith are going outside,
yeah,
the quarterback should have to step up, and if you're not getting the pressure from your defensive line, I mean, blitz Patrick Queen. I mean, just blitz him, and he should get there.
Let me ask you this. Now, you always bring the argument up about T.J. Watt, and he's not great against the run, and he takes that outside path a lot of times, which doesn't help him in the running game. Do you think that it would be more productive to have him just as a passing down player? I mean, of course he is a starter, but a lot of times you do see him on the sideline. Would you be okay if he wasn't on running downs and he came in and of course they're not going to do this, they're paying the guys who's going to be on the field, but do you think it would be more productive for the Pittsburgh Steelers to operate like that, to have him in specific passing downs?
Okay, if I'm going to pay somebody $30 million, I'm going to expect him to be able to play the run, to be able to have more than one move on defense. I'm going to move him to the right, move him to the left, have him blitz from up the middle. I'm going to put him all over the field. He's so disappointing. What I would do with a player like that, if you're just saying that he's a one-trick pony, that he's a great pass rusher, which there's no doubt about that, why wouldn't you just trade him and get first-round draft picks and have 3 or 4 guys on your defense versus him?
You know what I got to say, Brian? I mean, it depends on how many more playoff games we lose. That might not be too far from.
We're not going to win any with him. I can tell you that. We're not even in any games with him.
I think they said that you're right. We haven't won a playoff game in 8 years. I mean, some things have to change. You got to figure out what's working, what isn't, and what you want to move forward with, because we are at a crossroad right now.
Now, that being said, we do run a 3-4 defense, and we have Isaiah Loudermilk, Montravius Adams, and then you have Larry Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton, Cameron Hayward on that defensive line. 3 of those guys are in at all times. Why are we giving up 299 yards rushing?
Because it's a rusty offensive line or defensive line. Listen, yeah, Cam did have an improved season last year, but I got to be honest. Take a look at some defensive lines around the league. Let's take a look at some defensive lines that are still playing this weekend. Okay, yeah, Cam, he had an improved season. Yeah, Keanu Benton, I mean, he probably didn't improve like we wanted him to. But at the end of the day, look at the defensive lines. They have Chris Jones. They have Jalen Warren in Philadelphia. They all have some kind of dynamic player on that line that just disrupts. things, and we don't have a disruptor on that defensive line. You know that you're going to see Chris Jones on every other play if you're running the ball against the Chiefs. You know that Jaylen Warren is going to wreak havoc if you're playing the Eagles. We just don't have somebody like this on the inside, and when no one's wreaking havoc, then it's a little bit easier to operate against a defense like ours. And we have to improve there somewhere. We maybe get somebody young on one of the tackles, something. It's got to be fixed as well.
It's funny because I wasn't going to bring this up. We have less than a minute, and I don't want to upset anybody, but I am going to bring it up. Have you ever heard of a First Amendment auditor, Ryan? There's these videos out on YouTube. Basically, they go out and they videotape public employees in the course of their duties to check on them to see if they're treating the public right, or some of them might antagonize. Some of them are just filming quietly. Did you know that Warren Sapp is a First Amendment auditor?
No, is he really?
Warren Sapp. Now listen. Now police officers, state troopers, just hold on tight here because we're going to sum this up here. So Warren Sapp was filming the police. They were making arrests on these guys speeding. It must be like they were doing some trek across the country or something to raise money, right? And so the guy's going 30 over the speed limit, whatever, and he's getting arrested, and the cops stuck around. It was like this whole thing, right? So he starts filming them, and he gets arrested illegally for what do they say? Obstruction. Which obstruction is that's a physical thing that you can't be obstructing standing 10 feet away just filming. And he's suing for $20 million for an illegal arrest.
Sometimes you see these guys, these people, they win a lot of money in these cases.
Now, state troopers, police officers, everybody that's pro police out there just listening to this. The reason I brought this up, and the whole point of this is, one, we were talking about defensive line.
Yeah.
Warren Sapp's one of the greatest defensive linemen of all time. One-time Super Bowl champion, all-pro, first-round draft pick. The guy that arrested him, and Ryan, I'm going to send you this picture. The guy that arrested him, his forearms are bigger than Warren Sapp's upper body. This dude is just a house.
Wow.
He is just giant. Yeah, I'm going to send you the picture of this guy that arrests Warren Sapp. I was like, I sent it to a couple buddies. I'm like, notice anything? I'm like, that guy there getting arrested, that's Warren Sapp. Notice anything about the guy arresting him? And they're like, well, he has the tattoos. And I'm like, dude, he's 6 times bigger than Warren Sapp.
Wow.
He's a big dude.
And even after being removed from the league for this many years, Warren Sapp's by no means a small guy.
Right. All right, well, listen, we're going to get into the NFL playoffs and what we have left here. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, the Washington Redskins, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Whenever we come back, we're going to talk about that. You've been listening to WBVP 99.3 FM and 1230 AM. We'll be right back to One Man's Opinion on Sports.
Welcomes Fry Transportation to their family. You are listening to 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios.
Sometimes the holidays can last a little too long, but usually it's no big deal if you discover a leftover fruitcake in your refrigerator, even if it's after Memorial Day. You just toss it out and move on with life. This is Pat Travail from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. On the other hand, high interest charges from store credit cards can really start to stink too. The fact is, if you don't deal with it now, you might still have some of this year's Christmas rotting away in your budget, like a cookie tray that's been left uncovered far into the next year. With approved credit, you can transfer your existing balances to our low fixed-rate Visa card now and put freedom in your future. Don't let the holidays linger. Throw the high-rate credit cards out with the eggnog that's gone bad. Visit Freedom United Federal Credit Union, member NCUA, equal housing lender.
Your success is our success. We belong to you.
The best of Beaver County is easy to discover. It's right here on your radio. Tune in Beaver County Radio or watch the Best of Beaver County live on Facebook or YouTube video this and every Thursday from 11 to 11:30. The program is made possible by St. Barnabas. For over 3 years now, the show has been dedicated to shining light on the great things going on right here in your neighborhood and the people that are making it happen. This Thursday, enjoy conversation and insight from an intriguing lineup of guests who are creating excitement and having an impact right here in Beaver County. Your friends and neighbors at St. Barnabas are pleased to support the best of Beaver County. The radio broadcast will also be replayed each week from 11:30 to noon on Sundays on Beaver County Radio. Archived Best of Beaver County videos can be viewed on the WBVP WMBA Facebook page. It's your chance to encounter the best of Beaver County with host Mike Romai this Thursday starting at 11. For more information, visit beavercountyradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Now back to One Man's Opinion with Bryan Pasquale.
All right, welcome back to One Man's Opinion on Sports with me, Bryan Pasquale. I'm here at the same part of his studios. Joining me today is my producer, Ryan Garazunas. You can check him out alongside co-host Mike Mueller every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. till noon on YouTube. Search the Two Dumb Yinzers. They talk Steelers, Pirates, Penguins, and much, much more. Also, make sure you check us out here on Beaver County Radio Facebook Live and Beaver County Radio YouTube. This show is too short. I remember when I first started working on this at this station, not for the station, but at this station. Let's not be confused about the two things. That I was thinking to myself, Ryan, like, oh my God, how am I going to talk for an hour? Meanwhile, I was on with Scott, who, you know, you can't get in another word with him. But that's neither here nor there. But how can I come up with an hour worth of talking and, you know, make it entertaining for the viewers, for the listeners? And now that we've gone from 2 hours to 1 hour, minus a Scott, I'm thinking like, what is this? Like, am I just giving the cliff notes of like what I have here, basically? You know,
Exactly.
The 1 hour is, it's too quick. It's too quick. It's too quick. What I plan on doing, Ryan, is I got to take care of, like I said, a couple things on my end here over the next 4 to 6 weeks. And then hopefully after that, maybe we can do something longer than what we've previously done. That way we can get into a lot of things. One of the things I want to get into real quick is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Didn't they have like that Pirates Fest thing? What's it called?
The Pirates Fest.
Oh, God. Somebody asked me if like I would go to that. I'm like, for what? For what? Is Libby done there? Like, that's like what am I going there?
Yeah, right.
All right. Did you watch the Notre Dame Ohio State game?
Of course. It was terrible.
Notre Dame has no offense, right?
I can't believe how minimal of an offense they have. Now, listen,
and they're the second best team in the nation.
They can't pass.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point to whenever they're down a couple touchdowns and the announcer, Kurt Hirschfried or whoever it was, says, well, Notre Dame, they really, you know, it's going to be hard for them to get back into the game because they can't pass. How do you get to the national championship game and you can't pass?
I don't know. Didn't Nebraska do it all those years? They just ran the ball.
Yeah, it's like the Steelers. Teams like that just don't win anymore, and somehow they managed to pull it off and get there.
All right, so the Pirates, there's nothing really to talk about. They have Paul Skeens. That's the only reason to watch. I mean, there's a couple, you know, let's say there's 5 other guys that deserve to be on major league teams, and maybe a guy or two will surprise us out of nowhere.
Let me ask you this.
What's that dude, Bubba Chandler? Is he going to be a starter?
He's going to be really good. He's a pitcher that's been down in the minors. I think you're going to see him this year. I think he's going to do very well. I have a question for you real quick on these Pirates, Brian. That kid, they discovered that one Paul Skeens baseball card, the one that they were looking for, and the Pirates were going to give them 30 years worth of.
Yeah, I stole it from him.
One kid.
That little 11-year-old, I beat him up and took it.
So now an 11-year-old in California, now you have the Pittsburgh Pirates breathing down your back. What advice do you give to that little kid in California who found that?
The advice I would give to him is, this card's going to be worth more than that franchise, so you just hang on to that card, buddy.
How, you know what? You got to look at the Pirates and say, what are you doing to this poor kid? They want to get it. They want to give him 30 seasons behind home plate, blah, 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 for the worst team in baseball.
You live in California. Why the heck would you want to come to Pittsburgh?
Exactly. Kid, take your card, get your money, and enjoy your life.
He has 7 years of being a child.
Yes.
Right? So I don't think any decision can be made in the next 7 years, like unless his dad's like an idiot.
You're
you know,
right.
like that guy that showed up in the end of The Water Boy or whatever. I'm your father. And we can make millions like Tiger Woods and his son.
And you would think that the value is going to go up on a Paul Skeens card unless, you know, he ends up being a serial killer or something. But
who was the guy the pedophile guy who was our closer? The kid that was hooking up with like a 12-year-old girl in Fayette County or something, or
who was that for the Pirates?
Oh God, was he from the Dominican? I think he was.
Yeah, I can't think of what his name is.
Yeah.
Though.
So yeah, if Paul Skeens doesn't get hurt, see what happens over the next course of 7 years. My prediction is one kid hang on to it because Paul Skeens is going to be the first $1 billion player. Like if Juan Soto, the Brian Giles of today's game, can get $750 million, or am I close? Why can't in 4 or 5 years from now, salaries go up and inflation happens, and why wouldn't Paul Skeens have that $1 billion contract? Olivia Dunn will be right there to help him cash that check, and then I think she's out the door the next week. Derpy's hoping so. Watch out for him.
Well, my advice,
he'll be sliding into her DMs. I heard you got that $1 billion money.
My advice is stay as far away from the Pittsburgh Pirates, young man, as you possibly can. They're going to try to they're going to rip you off. Listen. You look at the things. You get to sit with Olivia Dunn one game. You get 30 years behind the home plate for Pirates. I mean, this is literally stuff you're going to be super upset if you let that card out of your...
That's just stupid. Hang on to the card. Have generational wealth.
Absolutely.
And that's that.
And avoid every time
What's the kid's name?
I'm not sure.
Little Billy?
Little Billy.
Little Billy. So just hang on to that
when
money.
Billy, when the Pirates pop on your caller ID, you just
don't do the Sandlot and go take it and have it get hit over the fence and have the dog eat it or whatever happened to the Babe Ruth ball.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a few minutes left. Let's talk about Sunday, 3 p.m. The Washington Redskins take on the Philadelphia Eagles in... What's their park called? Their ballpark is Citizens Bank Park, but I don't know what their stadium's called. Listen, my buddy sent me a video, and I don't know if I sent it to you, but so, you know how we have that terrible Stick song?
Yeah.
All right. So if you've never been to Acrisure Stadium or Heinz Field previously, basically what happens is in the fourth quarter, we either punt or we score a touchdown, and then what they do is they go to TV commercial, and the other team has the ball for an important drive. If we stop them, we likely win the game or have a chance to win the game. That's typically the setup here. So here comes Sticks and the song Renegade, and everybody gets all fired up, and then like the lyrics start as Sticks, and you're like, well, this is the worst song ever after a nice little build up, right? And then finally found me.
What do you recommend is what I want to know.
And the crowd goes crazy. They go nuts. They're the loud. You can't hear yourself think. It is so loud and so crazy. TJ Watt's waving a towel. He's getting everybody fired up. And then what happens is they come back from the TV commercial, and the other team is about to run a play, and the crowd gets about half as loud. Meanwhile, they should be double as loud so that they can mess up the offense, right? So they get half as loud, and they're all screamed out, and the other team throws a 20-yard pass. 2 plays later, they're in field goal range, and so the air goes out of the whole stadium. That's typically what happens. My buddy sent me a video. He's from Philadelphia. They play like this rocky music collage, right? Now, we all know that that's not like an actual person. That's just a movie.
Right.
But they go crazy. They go nuts. And it was like way better than a terrible Stick song. I don't know, Ryan. I like just to pump up the crowd. You hear like the bell from Rocky. It's really good. I'll send it to you.
Huh. So that was kind of going into your Redskins and Eagles game because we got 3 minutes.
Yeah. So can the Commanders win?
Yes, I think they can win. Do I think they're going to? Probably not. But I want a Washington-Buffalo Super Bowl. I want a rematch of Super Bowl 26. That's my picks. Do I believe it's going to happen? Excuse me, I don't. I believe it's going to be Buffalo and Philadelphia. But I would love if the Commanders got in.
All right. So I just don't think the Commanders have enough horses.
Right.
I think that they need like a special team score, a touchdown early, and to have the Eagles play from behind. Otherwise, I think the Eagles are just going to run it and run it and run it and run it and run it. And that Jalen Hurts, I don't think he's very smart.
No, I don't either. And you know what?
Man, he holds onto the ball longer than Russell Wilson.
You know
in
what?
the end zone.
Philadelphia, they've been building a little bit longer their championship team, where Washington right now, they're kind of playing off the success of this young quarterback. That's why I think Philadelphia wins. They're just better pound for pound.
All right, Sunday night at 6:30, the 0-4 Super Bowl Buffalo Bills go to Arrowhead Stadium and take on the Kansas City Chiefs that is not in Kansas City, but is in the city of Kansas City, right?
Did you say they're not in Kansas City, but they're in the city of Kansas City?
Are they? Do they play in downtown?
I don't know. I don't know the layouts of Kansas City. But
I've never seen like the city in the background. You know, it's always just the stadium. We'll have to look into that. All right, so the Bills are 1.5-point underdogs. Do the Bills blow out the Chiefs and win, or do the Chiefs win a close game? Because that's the only two ways I see it.
I say this is Buffalo's year. This to me feels like Buffalo's year. I say Buffalo wins this football game.
Josh Allen has like not thrown an interception in like 6 million games.
He's truly a freak.
He has like 4 interceptions in his whole playoff career and like a gazillion touchdowns. He is above and beyond better than any quarterback I've seen since Joe Montana.
You know what? I don't disagree with you. I think that Josh Allen's very good, and I don't understand. And I think it's going to take him winning the Super Bowl to actually start getting the MVPs go his way. For some reason, Lamar Jackson, the choke artist, 3-6 in the playoffs. He's won 2 MVPs so far. Maybe if Allen could get his Super Bowl this year, they'll start considering him.
All right. Well, Harbaugh was an idiot going for 2 in the second quarter, and then it forced them to go for 2 to tie the game at the end of the game when they could have just kicked an extra point, and then you got the flip of the coin. But I don't know, Ryan. We had 1 hour. It was like speed dating.
It was like speed dating.
Did you swipe left or swipe right on me?
Yeah, I can't tell you.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure. This has been the best producer this side of the Mississippi, Ryan Garazunas, and for me, from One Man's Opinion, Bryan Pasquale.
Real quick, what is your pick? What's your prediction? Who do you like in this game? These games?
Oh, it's going to be the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Okay, good.
I don't want it to be that. I want it to be the complete opposite, but that's what it's going to be.
Okay, all right.
All right, everyone. We will see you guys back here 167 hours. You have been listening to 99.3 FM and 1230 AM WBVP.
WBVP and WNBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WNBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WNBA.
You've been listening to One Man's Opinion on Sports with Bryan Pasquale on Beaver County Radio. Don't forget, you can watch the show on WBVP-WNBA Facebook page anytime. Tune in next Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for One Man's Opinion on Sports with Bryan Pasquale on Beaver County Radio. You're listening to 90.